This is a lecture from Open Tuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
We've mentioned groups briefly already in the work of Elton Mayo, who you might remember was the initiator of the Human Relations School of Management. And he, as one of his results of his experiments, identified the existence of what was called informal groups of people, invisible or not recognized or not dreamt of by management, but groups of people, maybe just the people working together, could form a group which could perhaps then have very powerful group norms and which could resist the actions of management. Anyway, they're very important in organizations, and groups can be defined as follows. Again, Handy is a nice simple definition: any collection of people who perceive themselves to be a group. And this is quite nice, because this idea of perceiving yourself to be a group allows for both formal and informal groups. If you perceive yourself to be a member of a group with other people, then there is a group. And Andy said that the characteristics of a group is that they will have a sense of purpose or an aim. So it could be that an informal group, their sense of purpose or their aim is not to increase productivity or to resist, coming into work on a Saturday or something like that. Or it might be a more positive sort of aim, that maybe their aim is to improve quality. They have an identity, you know who's part of the group and who's outside the group, who's us and who's them, and so on. There are group norms, accepted ways of behaving, and then there is communication within the group, because you have to, apart from anything else, communicate your aims and communicate your norms. So to get an idea of how a group could very quickly establish itself, where there really hadn't been one before, let's say you were coming to work or something, you're on the bus, and by and large in the morning, and you're on the bus, you're not talking to your neighbours whom you don't know, these strangers and so on. You're there buried in your phone or your newspaper, whatever it is, and then suddenly the bus has an accident, and suddenly now you have become a bit of a group, because you might have an aim that if people were injured on the bus, then the aim might be to get some sort of compensation because of the accident. There is an identity, you know now these people are on the bus, they're part of this accident, these people are nothing to do, these just other commuters, nothing to do with this group. There are group norms. There may be pressure on you to say the accident happened in a particular way. It may actually be unfair pressure. There may be pressure on you to say that it was somebody else's fault. There may be pressure on you to say they've been injured and you want to claim for compensation, so that if you're claiming for compensation, it increases everybody's chance perhaps of getting compensation. And of course there's communication, whereas you've previously been reading your paper, reading your emails or something on your phone. Suddenly there's an accident, you begin talking to each other about what had occurred and what should be done and so on. Now, one of the important writers on the group is called Belbin, and Belbin said that as one of the characteristics of a team, and a team is a group which has been formally created by management. You could have your IT implementation team. There could be the new project launch team. There could be the team who's going to be responsible for opening the organization in France or something of that sort. And what you get, first of all, with the team, if it's formed properly, you get technical skills coming in. So you're opening up in France, then you want, a salesperson, you want maybe a manufacturing person, You want a purchasing person, you want someone who's capable of finding the right premises in France and so on. So one of the things like a football team, you bring together people of different skills. There's a striker, the defender, there's a goalkeeper and so on there. And their different skills are together far better than anyone separately. But Belbin said that the other thing that you bring together are people of different personalities. And you have to be, again, as you want a nice spread over the tactical skills, it's quite nice if you get a nice spread over the personality traits as well. And he said they were the following. There's the chairman. You can read all about this in the notes. I'm not going to go through each one in absolute detail. But the chairman is someone with a bit of natural authority. They're quite good at maybe placating, where there's disagreement amongst the group, the chairman can maybe seek compromises. They're quite good at making sure everyone has their say and is listened to and so on. A shaper, different to a chairman, a shaper is very much someone who has their own ideas and is quite, in a way, quite pushy to get those ideas realized. The shaper is likely to irritate people, rub them up the wrong way. Quite, I want this, etc., etc. They won't let it go. The chairman is more the oils the wheels, so to speak, and tries to keep people together. I'll go down to just, I think, two more here. There is the very last one, the completer finisher. Some people get very excited at the beginning of projects and then lose interest. They may be very creative. But then you have these completer finishers who are very, very good at detailed work. So if you're creating a report, they'll be very, very good at proofreading it, making sure all the references are there and so on. Making sure all the documentation is complete. Very important to have that in large projects. And we have the plant. It always sounds quite bad. The plant, however, is someone that management has put into the team quite deliberately. We would say to ginger it up. This person has maybe quite radical ideas and comes out with these radical ideas and kind of challenges maybe a group which is a little bit complacent, a little bit dull. They are planted in there to bring a bit of a radical thought to it. And then the last one here, the specialist. Some groups you need a specialist, maybe a specialist IT person to give you technical advice and so on about what you're doing. Another writer is Tuckman, who looked at the stages of team development. And he said the first thing is that the group forms. So if it's an informal group, then the forming stage is going to take a little while. You're kind of sitting with your colleagues, and gradually over time, the existence of the group kind of evolves. And maybe you see a purpose of the group. Maybe you see, well, we better kind of stick together, otherwise we're going to have worse working conditions or something of that type. In a formal group where management deliberately creates a group, then the forming stage is very quick. The management says, this is what it's going to be, these are the people in the team, and that's what your purpose is. Secondly, Tuckman talked about storming. Storming is kind of fighting, jockeying for position, really. Who's going to be the shaper? Who's going to be the chairperson and so on here? Who's the kind of talkative one and so on? Who's very good at maybe going out and trying to get resources for the group, and budgets for the group and so on. So this is storming. A little bit of power play in there to get the position you want. Again, if it's a formal group formed by management can cut through this a lot. Can say, right, you're the chairperson, you're the person in charge of it here, you're the person who's recording the minutes and so on there. They can tell people what their roles are, rather than letting people work out the roles and fight over them themselves. Norming is settling down then to accepted ways of behaviour. How often are we going to meet? how long we're going to meet for each Friday morning, and so on. Do we have to do it in our own time, or are we doing it in work time, etc., etc.? That's norming. Establishing acceptable group norms. And again, if it's a formal group, management will probably tell them, you are going to be meeting once a week. We expect you to be reporting in 2 months' time, after it's finished in 2 months' time, and so on. We expect everybody to go to every meeting of the group, and so on. You're establishing the kind of ground rules of how the group is to perform. And only then does it perform. So it's gone through these stages here of forming, storming and norming without really any output. This is where you actually get the output. Something useful coming from it. All of the rest have been kind of preliminary. And as I say, if management can be involved here, then it will simply accelerate people through to get very quickly to this performing stage. If management doesn't get involved there, there's going to be quite a bit of kind of time wasted up here as people get down eventually to stage 4. And then finally there is the dorming stage, dorming as in dormitory, as in sleeping. Really it means here that the group, the team, the committee, whatever it is, it's had its day. There's no real purpose on it anymore. It has performed, it has done what it should be doing, and now in a way the group is there because of habit. The group meets every Friday afternoon because for the last year we've been meeting every Friday afternoon, and habit will make us continue to do that. But really it's at this point that the group should be disbanded in some way, because it's as I say, it's kind of in a rut. There's nothing really for it to do. The lessons from Tuckman really is that management can accelerate down to this very important stage here. He also said that if the people in the group, if one of them changes, then in a way you have a little mini forming, storming, norming as you go through. The new person joins, there'd be a little bit of finding his or her place, a little bit of storming in that there. This person will have to get used to the group norms, or may even try to change the group norms and so on. But again, management can help that. They can send a memo around to the people in the group saying, this person is joining you, this is their background, so you get to know them, this is what they're going to be particularly good at in the group, this is why they're in the group, in the team, and so on. And okay, there'll be a little bit of a disturbance, but the group should be able to, get to the performing stage fairly quickly. And finally, just a little bit on the difference between a team and a committee. A team is deliberately formed. It is a formal group. It has very specific objectives, like put in or decide on a new IT system. They will have mixed skills. So if you're doing a new IT system, you'll want maybe somebody from the accounting department because they make a lot of use of IT. Maybe somebody from manufacturing, need an IT person quite obviously there. And then you may have a leader of it. So maybe 4 people on the IT steering committee there. And there is definitely a leader, somebody in charge of the other people. And they come out with these very specific objectives, and very often very practical objectives. A team to decide on the new IT system, a team to decide maybe on the new profit-related pay system or scheme, and so on. A team maybe to decide whether or not we should subcontract distribution to a firm of haulage contractors, a logistics firm, or whether we should keep it on board in-house or not. A committee, on the other hand, again, it is formal. It's deliberately formed, certainly. But they tend to be much more decision-making rather than doing things. They basically bring together a lot of input from different areas of the company. They can discuss what's need to be done, and they will very often produce a report, a formal decision, and reporting methodology will come out. But they tend not to be doing the activity themselves. After the committee reports, then maybe a team is formed to implement the committee's decision. Instead of having a leader, they tend to have a chairman, a chairperson, and so on, which isn't so much telling people what to do as making sure that everyone who comes to committee meeting is heard, and you get a good balance of opinions, and that people are relatively happy with the suggestions that are made on the final recommendations.